Lewis Hamilton hits back at his critics after, of course, that first Ferrari podium back in China. Oscar Piastri says there is nothing magical about what Mercedes are currently doing. Haas have no idea just how good Oliver Bearman can get. Martin Brundle says that Carlos Sainz is running out of options. And Franco Colapinto has a message for anyone who's writing him off in 2026. It's Monday, the 6th of April, and this is your daily Coffee Corner Motorsport Espresso news. Let's get right into it. We are, of course, now 26 races into that Ferrari chapter. Lewis Hamilton has his first Grand Prix podium, that P3 in China, and he is not letting anyone forget just what it took to get back onto the podium. His mum was also in Shanghai, which made Mother's Day even more special for him. And speaking to the media after the race, Lewis Hamilton said, "To bring my mum to China and then have this amazing week with her, and then my first podium for Ferrari, it made it incredibly special, the whole experience." And from then, he then talked about what it took just to climb back onto the podium. He opened up about that journey, saying, "I've been trying to get that podium for a long time. It felt like I've never had to work so hard just to get a podium." Now, Planet F1 reports that Lewis Hamilton also addressed his critics directly. He acknowledged that he still sees people talking negatively about them, but he also said that these people have not had anywhere near the success that he's enjoyed in Formula One. Late last season, Lewis talked about this. He was quite blunt, saying that those who were questioning him were not even on his same level. That tone heading into 2026 has not softened one bit. His head, though, that has changed. What he said was, "I think I've came into this season with the confidence that I used to have, and I think I stuck at it. It's the hardest thing just to get a podium to compare to a lot through my career, and it was the biggest challenge just to get that, and I just have to bide my time now." Racing 365 also reports that Lewis Hamilton said a first win in red for Ferrari is more in sight than it ever has been. Now, last season, he said that this could not have been further from view. He looked completely downtrodden. He looked like somebody who was ready to walk away from the sport. This season, though, he's re-energized. He's saying that actually he can now see a situation where he can get a first win for Ferrari and take a trophy back to Maranello. Ferrari, of course, as we know, sit P2 in the Constructors' Championship after the opening 3 races. Charles Leclerc is on 49 points in the Drivers' Championship, and Lewis Hamilton is just behind him on 41 points. And we've also seen some amazing battles between the two Ferraris, particularly in that middle section in China. 3 races in, the momentum for Ferrari is currently there. We know they're talking about engine updates as well. We know they've got some updates to come. They're doing their filming days. See some of the previous Coffee Corner Motorsport Espresso news for the details on that one as well. But the target is quite simple. He now wants to win in Ferrari and take P1 and take a trophy back to Maranello to prove that this was a move that invigorated him, and it wasn't a time when he should have walked away from the sport, and he's still got something to offer in 2026. Talking about Lewis Hamilton, and we're going to switch back to one of his previous teams, and that is, of course, McLaren. Now, Oscar Piastri has been clear on Mercedes and their current performance in 2026. When asked if McLaren was any closer to identifying where the gap is between them, who are, of course, back-to-back Constructors' Championships, and the championship leaders, Mercedes, he said, "There is nothing magical about what they're doing. I think they just probably have more downforce, and they're using the power unit a bit better than us at the moment. It's as simple as that." Now, as we know, they have the same power unit. As we know, they've got the same engine. Now, Piastri led the opening of the Japanese Grand Prix from the start. His first racing laps of the season, of course, after what happened in Australia and China. He held George Russell behind him through the opening stint, and he told media that that actually surprised him a bit. "I think the fact that I could keep George behind for so long was really encouraging. He expected the Mercedes to come back and take the lead far sooner, and of course it didn't happen. Antonelli pitted under the safety car that was triggered by Bearman's crash, and that of course was a deciding factor in the race. Antonelli ended up finishing around 15 seconds clear, but Piastri was honest about what that gap means. Planet F1 reported on this. Piastri said, "We did everything right this weekend, and we still got beaten by 15 seconds. So we've got a pretty big gap to fill still. I'm confident we can get there, but yes, we still got work to do." He also had an observation on Ferrari that's worth noting. He told the media, "I would say it almost looks like they're better in the corners, but maybe a bit worse power unit or drag. McLaren are watching everyone, not just Mercedes, and the development race is, of course, heading on in that 4-week break before we come to Miami." Talking about Japan, and we're going to head back to Suzuka for a minute, and Ollie Bearman. Lots and lots is being discussed about Ollie Bearman, of course. That crash at the entry to Spoon was brutal. Bearman sustained that 50G impact after being caught out by the closing speed difference with Colapinto's Alpine. He obviously, as we know and we've talked about, walked away with a clean bit of health, and he's also expected, by the way, to be fit for Miami, according to team principal Komatsu. Now, what made it a bigger story is what Komatsu had to say about Oliver Bearman. He told media, including Motorsport.com, I don't see this ceiling with Ollie Bearman. The way he can learn and improve so quickly is part of what makes him amazing. He's always has this amazing speed. He also pointed back to Mexico last year, where Bearman finished in P4, as the moment that showed just what is possible with them. Now, Martin Brundle talked about this before the Japanese Grand Prix as well. He noted that in China, Bearman was holding pace with Max Verstappen through the middle of the race and was running on a hard tyre. That is the level of performance Haas extracting from a 20-year-old in his second full season. And the numbers, of course, are backing all this up. Bearman has scored 17 out of Haas's 18 points across the first 3 races, 7th in Melbourne, 5th in China, sprint point in Shanghai. He's obviously leading Esteban Ocon 3-1 in qualifying across those events as well. Haas are currently sitting P4 in the Constructors' Championship. Komatsu's view of where this driver can go has not changed one bit, and neither should it change ours. I mean, ultimately, this is something that Ferrari are closely monitoring. Ollie Bearman, as we know, is still contracted by Ferrari and has been talked about in a lot of circles as a ready-made replacement for Lewis Hamilton when Lewis decides to retire. So Ferrari will be more than happy with that development that he's currently getting under Haas. And now, from one end of the championship standings to the other end, and of course, Williams. Now, Martin Brundle was asked on the Sky Sports F1 podcast where Carlos Sainz could go if things did not improve at Williams. It seems absurd to be talking about this after, of course, last season and the success that Carlos Sainz enjoyed at Williams. But Racing News 365 has a full quote which said, where would Carlos go? He's been at McLaren, he's been at Red Bull with Toro Rosso, he's been at Ferrari, and now he's at Williams. There's no room at Mercedes. He's obviously also done a stint at Renault as well, that's now Alpine. It's difficult to know where he'd go to get something better without revisiting places where, for whatever reason, he wasn't invited to stay. And then he went on to talk about this even further. I feel for him because whilst I don't think he's got the absolute talent of Verstappen, he's a fighter. He's like his dad, relentless. And that plays out quite frequently. Some of the races he's won have been absolutely outstanding, so it would be a shame. But he's up against it because he's driven for nearly half of the teams on the grid already in his career. Now, that situation, of course, at Williams is difficult. The team, as we know, have had a troubled start to 2026, and their car has been reportedly as a massive 26 kilograms overweight. Carlos Sainz has 2 points from 3 races. Williams are near the bottom of the constructors' standings. They are nowhere near where they thought they would be. Now, it seems like, as we know, they got that Mercedes engine, and it seems like the answer to Williams' problems are to strip weight from that car. The question on everybody's lips, how fast can he get those improvements to the team and start making the progress we expected them based on what James Vowles told us about judging him on 2026? But Martin Brundle's view on this is that unless something unexpected opens up, all of his exits are closing. We talked about the fact that Carlos Sainz has got exit clauses in his contract. The big question would be, if Carlos was to leave Williams, where on earth would he go based on those options that are now shrinking with it every season that passes, and everybody in the paddock knows it? And you got to wonder, is Carlos Sainz now regretting not taking that move to Audi that, of course, went to Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto after he chose Williams? Let me know your thoughts on that one, because it's really interesting. Do we think that Carlos should have made the move based on the performance, of course, of Audi? And finally, talk about Carlos Sainz's former teams. Franco Colapinto has opened up about his opening time with Alpine. Now, Alpine, of course, have been dominated by the talk of Pierre Gasly and his form. And they've also had to issue that open letter about the cars being similar, but the gearbox problem meant that Franco had a different one. The team issued that public statement after sections of the fan base, of course, directed abuse at Franco Colapinto following that Bearman incident in Suzuka. Now, as we know, Alpine have denied all sabotage claims, and they've also called for the hostility to stop between not just towards their drivers, but towards drivers in general. The statement was clear. Franco is our driver, and the team has placed its trust in him, just as he has by signing with the team. Franco, as we know, signed after coming from Williams, after that standout half a season he had a few years back. He, of course, stepped in once Jack Durham was moved aside for him last season after 6 races, and got rewarded with that contract for 2026. Through all of this, though, Franco Colapinto is pushing forward. He's choosing to ignore the noise and push on, looking at his own performance. I think also knowing that we've got a lot of performance coming, or that we see many different things to improve, is also really positive. When you're up there and you know you've got many things to fix and improve, it's even better for you. He then talks about the bigger picture. Looking forward to this year, it's feeling more competitive, and that, of course, makes you happier. And, of course, we want to be fighting for points consistently, which is where we're currently looking for and aiming for. 3 rounds in, Alpine now has 16 points. Last season, they scored 22 across the whole of 2025. The car is faster. The trajectory is up. That Mercedes engine is clearly working for them. And Franco Colapinto, he's here to stay. One thing we have to remember, though, is that Alpine have a reputation recently as having a revolving door with regards to drivers. And with Paul Aaron and, of course, Alex Dunn waiting in the wings, nothing is certain for Franco Colapinto and his future. Flavio Briatore could give Red Bull a run for the money in terms of driver swaps, and he's not afraid to pull the trigger if he feels there can be an improvement made. And with the pressure mounting, with obviously Pierre Gasly's performance with that Mercedes engine, Franco knows that his only way to deliver is via on-track performances. Lewis Hamilton finally has a podium for Ferrari. Oscar Piastri knows exactly where McLaren sit and is not pretending they are closer than what they are. Ollie Bearman doesn't know how good he is, according to Haas team principal Io Komatsu. Carlos Sainz has fewer exit routes every time the paddock reshuffles due to already driving for half the grid and not being able to stay with them, according to Martin Brundle. And Franco Colapinto says there is more to come and more improvements from Alpine now they have that Mercedes engine locked in. We are, of course, in the enforced break. Miami's in 4 weeks' time. However, you don't have to wait 4 weeks for the latest news because this is your Formula One Espresso news. I'm Terry. This is Coffee Corner Motorsport. Everything's in the description, and I will be back tomorrow with the latest from the paddock.